All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first Snail Trail tutorial video. And hopefully, right off the bat, if you've actually navigated to the Snail Trail webpage before, you should notice some additional options being displayed. This video is basically intended to give you the starting point that you need so that you can basically get snails and actually race them. So as a part of this video, I'm going to cover my snails, the incubation interface, and the actual game interface. I'm not really going to touch on Marketplace and Mint. These are actually available to you already on the mainnet webpage. You can use the Marketplace to go ahead and purchase or sell snails, and Mint was relevant for the duration where we allowed users to mint snails. All right, let's start with the basics. I'm going to first go to the My Snails page. I've taken the liberty of minting a handful of snails already in this dev environment. I wish this was true for mainnet, but hey, you got to start somewhere. And as you hover over each of these snails, you can see a little animation. If you go ahead and click on any one of the snails, it actually is going to take you to the snail attribute page where you have a few things here. First, on the left, right below the image of your snail, you can choose to sell your snail, breed your snail, or sell genes. These are basically shortcut buttons for you to use if you need to. At the top, if you haven't already done it, the game allows you to name your snail. For example, if I was to call this Shillmaster and click save, basically it's going to tell me that the naming cannot be reversed. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And of course, once I confirm that this is something that I'd like to do, it will create a transaction so that this information gets persisted onto the blockchain. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Obviously, the transaction will start and it will take a second or two, but that's how simple it is to name your snail. Now, additionally, the About part shows you information relating to your snail. And at the bottom, if your snail raced, which this snail has never raced, it actually shows you statistics associated with your snail. All right, let's go ahead with incubation first. I think this is the most amount of questions I've seen relate to breeding, so I'm going to go ahead and show you incubation. Now, incubation webpage is intended to be extremely simple. It will allow you to choose snails. If you've locked genders as female or male, it will allow you to choose which of the female and which of the male snails you'd like to basically breed with. Or alternatively, it's going to give you a link to the marketplace. Now, most important thing here is once you decide to breed, you need to lock the gender of your snail. So for example, I have no female locked snails at the moment. So if I click your snails, it's actually going to tell me that, oh no, we couldn't find any. Similarly, I don't have any male ones, so it's going to tell me there aren't any. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my snails. I'm going to click Shillmaster, which is a snail I had just named. I'm going to lock my gender as male. Again, once I click, it's going to confirm first, then it will ask me to submit that transaction to the blockchain. Once I do that, this snail will actually be locked as a male snail. Let me go back while that transaction is being confirmed. Let me go ahead and choose this guy to actually be my female snail. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that in as female, very similar to the male operation. And I submit this transaction to the blockchain, and that will actually take a second to take place. All right, now we're back at the incubation page. When I click your snails on the female side, now the system is actually showing me that I have a female snail. I'm going to go ahead and choose that. And then when I click your snails on the male side, it's actually going to show me Shillmaster, which was the snail I locked in as a male snail. Now, at this point, it's basically giving me a summary of the attributes of each of the snail, and it's giving me two options. Number one is the incubation option. Of course, this is the option that's going to breed the snails. Number two is simulate, which is one of the coolest features that I believe this game has. When I click simulate, it's basically going to take the characteristics from each of my snails. It's going to give me a breakdown of what family I would get with what probabilities. As you can see, I have a probability of getting a garden snail for 41%, a milk snail with about 59%, and a very small chance of getting an agate out of these two snails. There is also the generation that I expect to get out of this breeding operation, and then of course the class. Now, when I click incubate from here, it actually is going to show me what it will take to incubate these two snails. There is a breeding fee of 6,600. Again, the fees in mainnet will be completely different and they will be dynamic. This is dev network. I just want to emphasize that. And it's going to give me various pieces of information. I already have a little bit of slime in my account, and I can go ahead and say proceed, at which point it will ask me to first approve a permission for the tokens. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And in a second or two, once that goes through, we're going to proceed with the incubation piece. And there it is. Here is the second transaction, which is effectively the actual incubation transaction. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And at this point, once these two snails are starting the breed, as you know, there is a cooldown period for each of the snails. I'm going to let you figure that out when the game launches. But at this point, these two will hopefully give me some offspring. All right, I just gave it a second. At this point, the offspring should definitely be there. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my snails, and I'm going to peruse, and there is my brand new snail. I actually got a very cool one, turns out. So this was the snail that actually got created, and you can see status is actually newborn, which is pretty awesome. And that's how simple it is to incubate your snails. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the game now. When I click on the game option, you actually get 4 additional options, and I'm going to talk about them very quickly. Missions is the free-to-enter races. These are going to be a limited number of missions for each snail for them to join every day. Competitive are the races where you enter with a slime entry, and obviously the prize pool actually is going to be different as you play. And next to run is the part where if there are races that are about to start, this is where you can find them. There will actually be a cool countdown associated with each race. And if you've actually run any races in the past, this is where you're going to be able to see past races, and you'll be able to expand them and watch those races. I'll first go ahead and start with missions. Now, each of these missions has a conditions column, which tell you, different attributes. Right now, this event called Bebux is a space, wind, or dodge conditioned race. Distance is treasury run. For the purposes of the demo, there is only treasury run distance. And as you can see, 9 out of 10 people have already registered. When I actually expand the race, you can see that there is a bunch of snails here, and you can actually see their ELO rating, their class, their generation, and any relevant adaptations in there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and choose either space, wind, or dodge from my snail list. Hopefully, I'll have at least one of them. Oh, look at that. Shillmaster is actually a wind snail. Snail 2173 is another one. I'm just trying to see. Oh, I have a space... I have a space Picasso looking snail down here, and it actually gives you the full list of all the snails that you have so that you can choose to race them. I'm going to go ahead and choose snail 2173. When I choose, of course, it's going to first ask me to sign that message. And once I sign that message, it's going to ask me to pay for the transaction fee so that we can enter the race. If you are the last person to enter the race, that you are the person that pays the fee. Let's go ahead and pay. And our snail is actually going to show up here shortly within a second or two. Now, once this transaction actually goes through, once the system actually detects it, we expect this Bebux race to drop into the next to run window. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick refresh here. Okay, it's still taking a second or two. Let's go back and make sure it disappeared. Yep, you can see that it actually disappeared from the daily missions. And there you go. Now it is actually within the next to run window. Now, again, if I expand it, there is 50 seconds, so I'm going to be fairly quick. You can see that my snail is right here, ready to go. Placement, this is the first time it's racing, so it's ready to go. Now, there are two options at the bottom. Option 1 is watch 2D. Option 3 is watch 3D. 3D is still under development. And as you know, when the game launches, we'll have the ability to watch it in 2D, i.e. in bird's eye view. So I'm going to go ahead and click that and see you guys on the race shortly. And at this point, you know, the race is going to begin as soon as it's... Oh, there it is. And as you can see, my Snail 2173, oh, I should have named him, is actually racing already. It's in 8th position. There is a total of 35 meters remaining for this race. On the lower right, by the way, I do have the option of killing the sound if I choose to do so. I personally love the music. The music, as you know, was created by one of our teammates who is a musician. So I'm going to go ahead and add it back. At this point, we are looking like we're on 7th place. We're sort of closing the gap a little bit, going back to 6th. Now the 5th. I don't know if we're going to be able to win, but it looks like we are actually closing the gap. We're going up to number 4. Number 4 is pretty good, no? Number 5. Only 10 meters remaining for the race. Now it's 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and I can see the race ending. We are number 4. Are we gonna make it to number 3? No, and we finished in 4th place. There you go. We actually won 5 slime tokens, which now can be used for various other things. All right, we are back to the next to run page. As you can see, the race that we just ran disappeared from here. And if I click on results, the race that we just finished is actually at the top. If I was to expand the race, I should actually see my Snail 2173 in 4th place. Looking at the time, we actually finished the race at 70.81 seconds. A mere 27 milliseconds actually separates Snail 2173 versus Snail number 3, the snail that actually came in number 3. But that's how it goes sometimes. We'll have better luck next time. Now, if I was to go back to my Snails page, and if I was to click on Snail 2173, which is the snail that just ran, by the way, you know, some of the images are loading slowly because we're running this on a local environment. This is not going to be the experience when you're playing the game. But if you were to go back to Snail 2173, you can see that it just gained a little bit of experience because we just ran a race. And also, you can see that we finished number 4 one time previously. And if I was to expand the stats, it actually shows me my data point relating to the treasury run and what was the minimum I ran, the maximum I ran, and the average. If I actually ran the same type of race a few times, these statistics would update. And hint, hint, this is going to be very valuable to you, prospective players, to understand what distances and what types of conditions are actually best for you. All right, hopefully that actually can serve as the basis for you to start racing and incubating and understanding how the races work. We are quite excited to bring this game to you, and we are looking forward to seeing you on the trails very soon. See you later.